I have duped on dozens of pay-to-win Minecraft servers. From famous YouTubers' Minecraft servers, some of the biggest servers in the world, illegal gambling servers, servers full of cyber criminals, and once considered un-dupable servers. But did anything come from all that duping? Did any servers actually make changes for the better, like removing gambling and harmful monetization? Did any servers actually suffer significant damages from our duping? Did any servers shut down permanently because of us? Well, that's what I wanted to find out, so I went back and revisited 10 pay-to-win Minecraft servers I've duped on to see how they are doing today, months or even years later. Did we actually have an impact? Are they still active and alive, and maybe even worse now? Or are they completely dead? Well, let's start with one of the biggest servers I duped on, Pika Network, which I actually duped on twice. The first time we duped hundreds of shulkers worth almost $5,000 US per shulker, as well as tens of billions of in-game dollars for hours on end, blatantly and openly, and they didn't even roll back, despite the economy being inflated beyond belief. The second time where we duped completely live on a stream, giving out illegal unbreakable blocks on the server's factions game mode, did force them to do a rollback though. And to keep this one brief, over 2 years later now, I can confirm, our dupes had zero impact. The server still sees the same number of players they did back then. In fact, they see a bit more, peaking at almost 4,000 players online daily, and the server still contains dozens of pay-to-win gambling mechanics littered across their many game modes. The server arguably might have gotten even worse, with it containing almost a dozen game modes, many of which have ranks close to $300 US, all of which contain their own in-game crates and gambling. Realistically, this was a server we would never ever have any impact on. They are way too big to make any changes or be threatened by a dupe whatsoever. Interestingly though, the server is cracked, meaning they allow players playing pirated versions of the game to join and play, which technically is not allowed according to Minecraft's usage guidelines. It's actually the very first rule under them, but yet hundreds of cracked and non-premium servers exist. Many like Pika Network, which feature pay-to-win gambling mechanics, which is especially harmful in these cases, as due to the fact that these servers are cracked, they generally have a younger player base. The next server we duped on is WildWood SMP, where we duped, they shut the server down and rolled back, but not far enough to where a rollback would remove our duped keys, so we just did the same thing again, forcing them to shut down the server a second time. And once again, to keep things brief, we had no impact. The server is still up and running today, seeing around 100 to 150 players daily, and still has all its gambling mechanics. Interestingly, the server is actually now also breaking Minecraft's guidelines, as some of its crates, like this seasonal cosmetic one, and these emerald and diamond ones that can all be bought with real money, do not have the odds listed for getting their rewards, which, as I'm sure you guys all know by now, is not allowed. This could mean that certain valuable rewards have basically a 0% chance of dropping, while other worse rewards have a very high chance, and players would never know. Very deceptive. They also give top players on the server real money payouts as rewards, which is something else not allowed that Mojang has blacklisted servers for in the past, and even let players straight up gamble their premium currency coins, which costs real money in coin flips. This is basically real money gambling, as you can buy coins for real money, then go right in game and coin flip them against another player. I reported this server for all these guidelines violations about 2 months ago, yet nothing has changed and likely ever will. The next server is one we duped on, not once, not twice, not 3 times, not even 4, but 5 times. And that is famous YouTuber SSundee's server iBlocky, which, spoiler alert, we actually had an impact on. Now, there was a big story to this server, but the TLDR is that upon releasing, it initially had some of the most great keys and pay-to-win gambling I'd seen on any Minecraft server ever, including expensive $40 loot boxes with a special super pay-to-win rank you only had a 0.2% chance of winning, of which SSundee was basically promoting to his audience of relatively young kids. And the server was very successful, seeing over 1,000 players online daily during its first week, and hundreds online the following weeks. After duping on the server the first time, giving out over $100,000 worth of items, we would return a few days later, giving out a stash worth over $2 million, getting 200 players falsely banned, and shutting the server down temporarily. After those 2 dupes, the server seriously upped its security and anti-dupe, forcing us to go undercover in the 3rd dupe and only give out items stealthily in our cells, like a real prison server. The server would then release a survival game mode, which we would also dupe on twice, which eventually led to SSundee responding. In SSundee's response, he ultimately decided to remove paid gambling from the server entirely, agreeing that it was very harmful, although not quite happy with the methods the community went about communicating that with him. And the server ended up doing a full relaunch with those changes in early 2025 alongside the server's new Skyblock game mode, and things were looking very positive. Now, ultimately, the main reason SSundee decided to make these changes was not necessarily because of the damage our duping did, as almost all of that could be easily rolled back, but mainly because of the negative attention he and thus the server got due to these duping videos, which is the main goal with them, as we'll get into later in the video. Servers will never make changes like removing gambling if you just ask them, nor will they ever really make changes just due to a dupe, as they can all be undone with minimal rollbacks normally. So the only real way you get servers to make changes is to put a bit of pressure and negative public attention on them with duping videos. Unfortunately, things didn't go so well for the server's relaunch though. As I covered in this video here, the server's initial launch in mid-2024, besides some duping, was riddled with bugs and issues, causing its player count and player trust in the server to plummet. Both Prisons and Survival both died out super quick, which alongside the monetization changes removing gambling SSundee made, was one of the reasons both game modes temporarily shut down and the server released Skyblock instead, as both went down for complete 2.0 redevelopment. Skyblock had many of its own issues though, including an overpowered battle pass that significantly harmed the server's economy, and a series of bugs and issues due to a rushed release and short testing phase. An example of this was a bug where players' Skyblock islands corrupted, not letting them access them at all, of which likely caused lots of players to quit as they lost all their progress. That being said, these are all typical growing pains of a new server, and one video from SSundee could bring thousands of players back instantly. But that was the other issue. SSundee's Minecraft content didn't really align with the gameplay available on the server, and it seemed he wanted to focus on custom features of the server for his videos which weren't really accurately representative of what it would be like playing as an average player. For example, in his videos promoting the server, he would use super high level enchantments of custom items and weapons which did crazy things but wouldn't do remotely the same on the actual server at their balanced, attainable levels. Ultimately, it seemed like what SSundee wanted for the server for his videos and what was actually reasonably possible to run as a server were at a mismatch. A mod pack like the ones in SSundee's videos seemingly was even in the works for a game mode, which never came to be, and SSundee eventually left the server when his contract ended. Despite the server re-releasing their original Prisons mode, it didn't really change anything, as once again, the server was riddled with bugs and issues. By mid-2025, a year after release, the server was seeing as low as 5 to 10 players daily, with former staff and developers of the server claiming that it was basically abandoned by higher-up management, and as soon as the server's hosting contract ran out, it would shut down. And lo and behold, sometime earlier this year, it did in fact shut down, with the server's Discord also being deleted. I go into a lot more detail on what happened in this video here after talking with staff from the server, but the entire situation is quite the shame, as the server made some really great monetization changes and looked like it was going to have a good future ahead of it, which ultimately never came to be due to game mode bugs and issues, as well as a difference in ideas for the direction of the server between SSundee and management. Loverfella's Minecraft server is one which I have duped on 3 times now, with each time getting significantly more challenging than the last. The first time we duped years ago, we got banned once, but then managed to come back and succeed the second time. The second time we duped, I got banned on 5 accounts, but we ultimately succeeded despite the bans. The third time we duped, we also got banned 5 times before even getting remotely enough items to distribute, and then also needed the help of expert dupe hunter Telelo to bypass the server's anti-dupe and rain keys down from the sky on top of players. And now, the server has made keys entirely digital and has one of the strictest anti-dupes I've ever seen. So did we make any impact? Well, to know that, you guys first have to make an impact on the subscribe button. I've got my biggest duping video of all time coming out later this year, and I'm sure you won't want to miss it, no pressure. Also, be sure to check out all my videos, including my duping ones, which are now available on Spotify completely ad-free and without interruptions. You can watch on the go and even listen in the car, link is below. Anyways, for some behind the scenes, I have tried to dupe on Loverfella a couple times since and have failed, getting caught every time. Loverfella's server may truly be undupable now. The server also has not made any changes due to us, we have not had any impact besides increasing their anti-dupe, and still sees an active player base of around 300 players daily. Interestingly, the server's monetization has kind of gone crazy since too. The server now sells monthly VIP subscription ranks ranging from $5 a month to 100. That's right, $100 a month, although this is more like a Loverfella channel subscription than just a pure server subscription. So I guess maybe that makes it slightly more worth it, although $100 a month is still still insane, and by far the most expensive subscription rank I've ever seen on any Minecraft server ever. The server's normal ranks have also gotten a lot more expensive too, and their new top rank, Eternal, costs around $500 US, pretty damn insane. They then also have crates and loot boxes, the typical paid gambling stuff too. So once again, another server which not only did we have no impact on, but actually has even more expensive monetization now, while also being next to impossible to dupe on. Luckily, our next server we did have somewhat of an impact on, and that was Mineville. Mineville was a small Skyblock server we duped on, whereby we gave players trillions of dollars of in-game money, got banned, and then came back and did the exact same thing the next day, since they didn't patch the dupe for some reason. The server at the time was already declining in popularity quite a bit, and us inflating the server's economy by about 4.9 million% with duping certainly didn't do it any favors. Not long after our dupe, the server continued declining in popularity even faster. They never seemingly cleaned up the dupe properly, resulting in that season of Skyblock having disqualifications and penalties to top players due to them using money from our dupe. Not long after the server shut down entirely, and while I don't think we were the sole or even main cause of that, I think our dupe was likely the final nail in the coffin. Our next server we will be talking about is probably the most famous on this list now, and that is the un-dupable server OPBlocks. OPBlocks is a very old and very popular server run by a very experienced server owner. I'm sure you've all seen the video now, as it's also my most popular duping video with over 3.8 million views, so we don't need to rehash everything. The TLDR is that due to the server's age and highly experienced staff team, the server had never seen a widespread duping distribution in its over 10 years of operation, up until we, alongside a former staff insider and going through 15 accounts being banned, would finally pull one off. We then came back and did it a few months later, as well as once more about a year later. And has the server made any changes? Hell no. They still have dozens of crates and paid gambling littered across all their game modes and see around 500 to 1000 players daily. But I'll tell you one thing we have done, and that was unintentionally and unfortunately actually make the server undupable. Due to the amount of negative attention the server received due to the two main duping videos on it, a lot of other players would also join the server and try to dupe. That, alongside our following dupes, which actually did somewhat result in some duped items remaining in the server's economy even a year later, led to the server seriously increasing its dupe security, now to the point where almost every valuable item flags when you get too much of it. Dupes are found on OPBlocks still every so often, but every time myself as well as others have tried to dupe and distribute, we get banned as soon as we get even a tiny amount of them. We have tried 2 or 3 times now since and failed almost every single time. The server is basically impossible to dupe on now, as every, and I mean every single somewhat notable high value item has dupe flags, of which the server staff watch like a hawk. Even our former staff insider mentions that all his contacts on the server are basically gone, and it's probably impossible to get even remotely enough items through duping to give out before being banned. So yeah, unintentionally, not only did we prove that the undupable server was in fact dupable 3 times, but we also made it actually undupable by doing so. Realistically, this was another server that was too big to fail, and was never going to make changes, so this is expected. If we did have any positive impact at all, it was partially being responsible for some high spending players getting banned for our duping, and thus quitting the server, or in this case, attempting to charge back $7,000 worth of donations to the server. But realistically, these players were already mostly fed up with the server, and our dupe was just the final nail in the coffin for them to properly quit. Now, interestingly, OPBlocks' sister server Penguin.gg, also partially owned by famous YouTuber SB737, was hit with many of the same dupes as OPBlocks due to the servers essentially being identical and run by the same staff and ownership of OPBlocks. After 2 dupes on the server and SB737 seeing my first video doing so, he would respond by making the server staff remove all paid gambling from the server, instead replacing it with a non-RNG crate system instead. This was a big success. Penguin.gg was a pretty sizable and established server. Seeing them make a change for the better like this was awesome, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. Not long after making the changes, SB737 would make a follow-up video saying the server was now losing money, and his goal was now to promote it again regularly through videos to get the player count up. However, after that video, his videos on his second channel would mostly switch back to Lifesteal SMP videos, which he had joined not too long prior, and then Penguin.gg would shut down and merge back into OPBlocks about 4 months later. it seemed like SB737 wanted to focus on his YouTube videos and other series instead of making videos on the server, which even prior to making changes removing crates, he hadn't been doing that often. You can see that his other videos did significantly better views-wise than his videos on his server, and it ultimately seemed like he had other things he wanted to focus on. There wasn't a specific reason given in the server shutdown Discord announcement, but the likely situation was that without SB737's promotion, and now with the server's revenue likely lower than before as they no longer had pay-to-win gambling, the server likely wouldn't last or was not profitable enough for the OPBlocks management anymore. Thus, they made the decision to shut down, which is unfortunate. Farzi.gg and VintageSky were another two servers run by the staff team of OPBlocks in partnership with a YouTuber, in this case that being popular YouTuber Farzi, and old school Minecrafter and Hermitcrafter Vintage Beef. Since both servers were identical, we duped on both at the same time a bit over a year ago when they just released, giving out trillions of in-game currency and shutting both servers down temporarily. Interestingly, Farzi.gg basically died out very soon after our dupe and shut down permanently about 2 months later, as Farzi didn't want to focus his YouTube content around the server, realizing how much effort and promotion it would take to remain active, which is fair enough. VintageSky would remain up for longer, although about 2 to 3 days after I released the duping video, would announce it was shutting down too, having dropped off in popularity quite a lot since, only seeing about 30 players online daily, far from the over 100 it started out with. In the Discord announcement, the owner of OPBlocks and thus Farzi would mention that the server shutdown had nothing to do with my recent video, which was originally filmed months prior to when it released, and the dupe didn't do any notable damage, and that second part is most likely true, but the first part likely not. What likely happened was Vintage Beef was already on the fence about the server after his video series on it was not performing super well, and after my video released, likely didn't want to deal with any negative attention or issues related to the server, and just decided it would be better to shut it down since it wasn't really that active anyways. At the end of the day, if my video really had zero impact, then why did the server only shut down 2 to 3 days after my video released, and not in the many months of decline and inactivity it faced after we initially duped on it? Seems like a pretty big coincidence to me if that was actually the case. And finally today we have Minecadia, the most predatory server in this video, full of cybercriminals and EULA-breaking gambling mechanics. If you watched this video here I uploaded recently, it's a really good one, you should definitely watch it, you'll most likely know the answer as to whether we had an impact or not, and once again, it is a resounding no. Minecadia is another server that's too big to fail, run by too experienced of a staff team to ever be pressured into changing. I have tried reporting the server multiple times to Mojang Enforcement because it breaks Minecraft's guidelines in multiple ways, and whether it was due to my report or just some negative attention from my video, they did make some small changes, like properly listing the odds of winning each of the items in some of their gambling mechanics. But ultimately, the server still contains very predatory and harmful gambling mechanics and monetization. So to summarize and analyze, of the 10 servers here we duped on, only 2 made changes for the better, removing pay-to-win gambling. In total, 5 servers are now shut down for reasons related or unrelated to us, we can't say for sure, and 5 made no changes, did not shut down, or actually became even more predatory with their monetization after. Now, you might be thinking, what is the point of doing these duping videos then, Mr. Epic? And it's simple. As I've always said and have been saying for years now, the goal with these duping videos is never to actually destroy or annihilate a server through duping. That's just for YouTube titles. The goal is for the duping videos to give these servers a degree of negative attention and pressure that ideally leads to them changing. Realistically, no matter how well we dupe and distribute, a dupe will never do any significant damage. The server can always roll back, remove duped items, blacklist items, etc. This is also why I rarely do long-term dupes, where we dupe and wait a few weeks before distributing, because despite what many of you may comment and think, it doesn't work. Most of the servers we dupe on have super high dupe security, where it's not a matter of if we will get caught, but when. If we try duping very slowly over weeks, the chances of us getting caught or flagging the anti-dupe accidentally, or even the dupe being found and patched, are immensely high, whereas if we dupe quickly, within a small period and then distribute, the chances of anything going wrong are significantly lower. If we were to get caught during one of these long-term dupes, it would be catastrophic, as we wouldn't have even been able to distribute at all. And it doesn't even change anything if we dupe over a long period either, mind you, as any competent server won't just roll back a few hours after a dupe and that's it. They will go through logs and trace back duped items to their source, banning all accounts that touched them and interacted with other known accounts, or blacklisting and voiding such items so as soon as you log in with them, you get banned or they get deleted. There is no good way to do a long-term dupe on any half-decently set up modern server these days, so there is absolutely no point in duping and waiting a few weeks before distributing. Not to mention most servers have regular resets, where our progress could be reset anyways. A dupe alone will never cause a server to change, nor will us just messaging server owners and asking them to remove harmful gambling mechanics. The only way servers ever make any changes is through the negative or potential negative attention and pressure they receive from YouTube videos about duping. Now, the other benefit to these duping videos, even when not on servers that are likely to make changes, is that they make players significantly more aware of harmful server mechanics and how they work. Prior to the existence of duping videos, nobody in the Minecraft community ever really cared about pay-to-win servers or duping. In fact, part of the reason Notch sold Minecraft was due to controversial EULA changes that prevented servers from being pay-to-win, of which the community protested against in support of said pay-to-win servers. But now, after the existence of duping videos, the general Minecraft community is significantly more aware of and against predatory server monetization. These videos raise lots of awareness and spread lots of not commonly discussed information. Hopefully, that awareness also leads to players making more informed decisions next time they are on a server and choosing not to engage with such harmful mechanics as they know the many downsides and harms. Basically, the point is, duping videos make the general Minecraft server player base much more aware and informed of harmful server monetization like crates and gambling, which may prevent them from falling for such mechanics when they are on these servers themselves, and it also may lead to future server owners more carefully considering their server's monetization, as they are also aware of the harms of gambling. But that about wraps it up. Be sure to subscribe. I've got some big duping videos coming that you won't want to miss. Thank you all so much for watching.